tell us a little bit about Prairie Fire and what it provides for the community.
Prairie Fire is a monthly newspaper. After 7.5 years of publication, we're up to 100,000 readers. We can be found throughout all of Nebraska as well as parts of 7 other states. We're constantly being asked to provide the paper in other communities. When we started the paper, we weren't exactly sure what sort of newspaper it would turn into. The 4 of us who actually owned the newspaper decided that we wanted to give the paper roots and wings. So it was fine with us as it wove its way into the fabric of the region as to whether it became more of a political newspaper with a small p or a environmental newspaper. Looking back over 7.5 years and probably upwards to 1,000 articles, it seems to me this remained remarkably balanced. We have arts, humanities, all the entertainment, performing types of entertainment, lots of natural resources, water, land, religion, politics with a small p, government policy. And we take essays from anybody who has a thought that they want to share with our 100,000 readers. So as a result, over time, it offers a generalist newspaper mix of almost every subject and topic.
Okay. And what's the paper's policy on anonymous sources?
When we announced in our initial issue for publication, we set forth a 2-item test for publishing essays written by anonymous authors. One of the tests is to protect the well-being or the safety of the author. And the second test is to protect the occupation or profession of the essayist. So we've only had 2 examples in 7.5 years, and like I said, upwards to almost 1,000 different items in the newspaper where we've invoked that policy and published 2 essays with 2 separate anonymous authors. We make it completely transparent, and we disclose to the readers that it is a pseudonym that we've come up with. And we also generally describe the either academic or professional credentials of the true author so that the reader understands that the person who writes the essay is extremely well qualified to do so.
Okay. And what are the 2 times that you've used the anonymous sources?
The first time was probably 3 or more years ago during the height of the national debate on healthcare reform. And we had an essay that came in that was written by someone in the healthcare industry, and they wanted to make sure that they didn't lose their job by writing such an essay, because the essay actually pointed the finger at the healthcare industry as one of the primary responsible parties for ensuring that healthcare costs were kept under control. So I could see where there was the possibility that someone up the chain in the organization that this person worked might take offense to the essay being slightly critical of the responsibility of healthcare providers making sure that they played the proper role in containing cost and health and medical services. The second example is when we did an essay on water quality, and the essayist was at that time an employee of an environmental regulatory agency that had responsibility for regulating water quality in the region.
What do you think, I mean, is the danger of using anonymous sources who don't meet your two qualifications?
Well, I think we see that on the internet these days, and more often in blogs, where there will be some outrageous statement or accusation, and it's completely uncheckable or not subject to verification or coming up with some test of validity. At least in our case, we feel that the readers can get most of what they need from reading the introduction and the introduction to the author, even though it's using a pseudonym. But I've also invited people to call me and talk about the need for confidentiality. So I would be willing to, in any case, whenever we used this rule, to assure the reader that they were getting reliable and straight information. But I think it's something that has to be strictly supervised, because there is the possibility that the tradition in American journalism of reliability, transparency, and validity needs to be kept intact, largely for the well-being of the future of the profession.
And there's, I guess another question I want to ask is just, do you think it's always ethical to use anonymous sources?
Well, first of all, I should confess it's about self-serving for me to evaluate my own conduct. But we talked about it long and hard among our editorial board members before we launched the paper. And at the time, some of my longtime friends who are journalists interrogated me thoroughly about how comfortable they might be with that. I think the test over 7.5 years has proven that exceptions to the generic rule of not publishing confidential sources can be met and managed within the traditions of American journalism. And I would certainly be willing to have a friendly debate among anybody who still feels that somehow we may run the risk of not managing our sources well by using those rules. I mean, every rule and every use of it is subject to interpretation, so I would not say that I'm right and everybody else is wrong. I'm willing to admit that there may be need for more discussion, and we're constantly reviewing it. And the 2 times we've applied the rule and used it, we've had a healthy discussion among the editorial board members as to what safeguards we need to make sure we use.
And the 2 times that you did use anonymous writers or sources, what was your readers' reaction to those pieces of work? Was it different from non-anonymous sources?
Interestingly enough, I didn't have a single comment from a single reader about either one of those essays. And we have the capability on our web for readers to comment. We had no comments about it either. And that was sort of unexpected on my part. I assumed that I might get some criticism from some readers. And if I did get some criticism, I was prepared to go to the authors and say, would you be willing to talk to this person about why you felt you needed to use a pseudonym for our publication?
Okay. Anything else you want to add about anonymous sources?
I don't think so. I think we've struck the proper balance in that almost 1,000 essays over almost 8 years. We've only had examples of 2 where we felt it was applicable.
So it's something that should be rarely used, you think?
Extremely rarely. And if we go another 8 years and never use it again, I'll consider it a complete success.